मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्मयेधि वेदस्य महाणेस्थ श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेनाहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्माम् अवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Om. May my speech be firmly established in the mind. May the mind too be firmly established in the speech. O self-effulgent Lord, be revealed in my consciousness. May the truths of the scriptures come to me. May not what I learn from them ever forsake me. Let me live my life day and night according to their teachings. I shall speak what is appropriate. I shall speak the truth. May that protect me. May that protect the teacher. Om, peace, peace, peace. Let us feel the self-effulgent, unchanging reality in our heart. Let us feel it. As the infinite ocean, which is luminous and all-absorbing. Let me feel the ego as a doll of salt in that ocean. The doll is dissolving. The ego and all its instruments like mind, intellect, attachments and aversions, clinging to this little I, all these instruments of ego are dissolving. My awareness that was clouded by the ego has become clear. I see all the fictitious, constantly changing lines of separation are gone. All is the one without second, tremendously luminous, bliss itself, supreme peace itself, this alone is I am that. All the delusions of birth, age, death are gone. All the my desires have vanished too. I am all that is. How can I have any desire? I am perfection itself. Bliss itself. So, dear friends, today is the last of the 7 classes that we were having on this wonderful treatise of Mahayana Buddhism, the guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life. In Sanskrit, Bodhicaryāvatāra, composed by Shantideva. Today we will be studying 9th chapter and a little bit of 10th chapter, the last one. Even from the 9th chapter we will study only a few verses because there isn't much time for us. This 9th chapter is the only philosophical chapter in this treatise. All other chapters, the first 8 chapters, are about the practice. Practice to become a bodhisattva means the one who has the mind dedicated to the acquisition of this state of awakened understanding, awakened awareness, whatever you may call, awakened consciousness. That is why he is called Buddha. Buddha is that. Buddha, as we had discussed earlier, is not the name of a person. It is the awakened one. Like when one is sleeping or dreaming, our perceptions are different than what happens when we wake up. So, when we wake up, our understanding becomes clear as to what I have to do, who am I, and so forth. So, till we wake up, our understanding is clouded. And so, therefore, this state of wakefulness, and the first 8 chapters were about getting to this stage. First, Shantideva described that it is essential to have that yearning, that urge, and which comes by thinking of how otherwise our life is going to be just mired in terrible suffering and pain. And there is no respite from that. There is no respite from confusion because it is all based on that which is impermanent, that we are after that which is impermanent, and thus we fail to get it. This is a shift has to occur, that I want that which is permanent, that which takes me thus out of all this various fleeting forms of this universe, like I and the world. These are all fleeting forms. So, to go beyond that those fleeting forms, there must be that yearning and also the urgency felt about it. The urgency has to be felt because this is something that is to be achieved in this life. The life is meant for that. We saw he has discussed these things at length, Shantideva, that how this human life is a great treasure, but it like a flame in this today's stormy weather, a flame in the winds would have been just extinguished any time, any moment. So this life is like that. So while it is there, uh, we have to first do this, that which is most important thing. I told you that when I prepare for a journey and have to fill the bag, I first take care to put in most important things. You know those. Firstly, my wallet, which has the driving license, ID, and all that, and of course, credit cards and so forth. That is, I take that. And the second thing, my phone. So these things I first put in. The other things, clothing, these, that, well, not so important. So these are the things that are very important, so I take care of this first. So similarly in life, we have to see that what is most important in human life is to realize this truth. What is, in words of Sri Ramakrishna, realizing God. To realize God is the goal of human life. That is, all the human endeavors have to be given this direction, that may they help us in experiencing our true, infinite, unchanging, divine nature. And then in the next chapters he describes what virtues therefore need to be acquired. One has to cultivate the dispassion for the changing things. Now why should it be cultivated? Why should we need to cultivate it? Because naturally we have a propensity to run after them, and thus we get entangled in it. Our life gets entangled into the changing forms because that is how as human beings our propensities are. So this has to be changed. The efforts have to be put in for that. So develop dispassion by seeing how they result in pain, suffering, bondage, and so forth. Think of that, like by eating something. One of our Swamis, he doesn't eat any spicy food because what has happened was that after he likes spicy food, but after eating a couple of times he found his stomach, there is a lot of stomach ache and many other problems arise. So he found out that although I like it, I have to stop it. So many things in this world we like, but the sign of intelligence is to look at the effect and avoid it. One has to, and that is special feature of human existence. We can look at the effects and then get the idea that whether I should do it or I should not do it. There is a good discussion about the brain of human beings compared to many other brains, and some scientists have pinpointed this fact that human brain has the capability of retaining the image for much longer time than most other animals, and therefore they can ponder the effect, they can logically connect things, which is not given to most of the animals that we know, at least not to such an extent. So, we see therefore that this special feature of human beings allows us to think what will be the effect of doing certain things. And thus, looking at the effect, we judge whether it is going to be right for me or not right for me. So, and if it is not going to be right for me, then even if I like, well, what does it matter? If the effect is going to be disastrous, then whether I like it or doesn't like it, it matters not. And if the result is going to be the right one, desirable one, again whether I like it or I don't like it, what does it matter? I will do it because it leads to the right result. So this has to be practiced. These are all matters of practice, not just this intellectual understanding. As we practice, these things get developed. So then he spoke about the patience, not getting angry, then the compassion that one has to develop. At length, all these things have been discussed that one has to practice this. If you want something really, then you do whatever is needed to be done to get it. Even the simple things in life, like you want, say, to get milk, then you try think where is it available, and you go and get it. That is how you see that what should I do to get what I want. So if I want a life that is beyond suffering, the life that is freed from birth and death and all such calamities, then what should I do? These are the virtues that you have to acquire with great effort, because naturally human minds are going in the opposite direction. That is why we see that everybody suffers, everybody is bound. The freedom doesn't come. One strives for freedom. That is why we strive for political freedom and so forth. As soon as the kids are 15, 16 years old, then they want freedom from the parents, that it is, let me become free, and that will be freedom. But then when they become 18 and get that, they see that that was not really the freedom. It is that there are many other bondages that I have now. So it becomes an illusory idea. One sees that very clearly, that to have freedom, as Buddha had shown, the awakened one has put this before us so well, that it is our limited ego, this self, that is the root cause of it, and that therefore has to be removed. Now all this is told. Why I am dwelling on these things before going to the 9th chapter is that these philosophical discussions that are going to ensue are meant only for those who have been practicing these things. Let us remember that these are not meant for academic scholars. They won't get anything from it. It is thought that, well, we will study the books with our intellect. What is the point in practicing all those virtues? By studying this philosophy, I will be able to know things. No, these are not going to be coming in your life. You will miss the point basically. You will miss everything. It is these virtues are like the passwords, that you have to first put your password into the computer, then all the files open. Otherwise they won't open for us. So similarly, these philosophical discussions that are coming up can be of use only for those who sincerely want to practice these ideas. Without practice, these truths do not come to us, as all the scriptures of all religions, they maintain this. Sri Ramakrishna was never tired of telling these ideas that no, practice, do something. It is, Vivekananda said that an ounce of practice is more than cartload of arguments. An ounce of practice. So, this is this chapter 9, perfection of wisdom. Many doubts will be brought here. This is the only chapter where this kind of question answers, a dialectic discussion ensues here. That, but he is saying these things, Shantideva, that he divides people into, two clear groups, or actually one group has been divided into subclasses, two subclasses. One is those big, huge group who consider that all the things that they see are real, they exist as they appear. And that is their assertion, that they have existence in themselves. The other group is that of is called Madhyamikas, the followers of Buddha of the Mahayana school. And Mahayana school does not reject Hinayana school either. In this chapter itself it has been made very clear that both are the paths told by Tathagata Buddha himself, and both paths are valid. Anyway, so this followers of the Madhyamika means those who consider that these forms to be passing illusions, they have no existence in themselves, they appear to have existence only in the state of delusion. Otherwise they don't have anything, any substance as such. So, and then there is another group which also accepts that there is no substance to these things, and then therefore they are the practitioners of what is called yoga. So both of them they accept that the practices are to be done to remove this delusional awareness that things exist in themselves. So this has been taken up, that that group is called proponents of things. So the proponents of the things, they say we see things. When you proponents of things see things, you do not recognize their illusion-like character, but assert them to be inherently existent. This is where we Madhyamikas and Prasangikas disagree with you. These Prasangikas are the yogis that I mentioned, that they also do not agree that those things, they are themselves real. They are just momentary, because you perceive, you think that they exist, but actually they don't have existence, just like things that you see in the dream. They exist in that context of dream only. When the dream is over, you wake up. Now you know that it was all illusion. It was not real. But in that state, it appeared to be real. Similarly, in this so-called waking state also, things keep on shifting and changing. It depends on the knower and that the known exists because of the state of knower. According to the state of knower, the known has the existence, and both keep on shifting and changing. Therefore, it all changes, and things do not have an independent existence at all. So, forms that we see directly are just mere appearance to mind. They exist falsely because the way they appear does not correspond to the way they exist. The appearance, because the appearances are contradictory. Like a chair, for example, that we will be seeing. What is the proof that the chair exists? Well, I see it, but a blind person will not be able to see it. So, what does it mean? It is only your sensual experience that certifies it. You may say that the blind person will be able to judge by touch. Well, suppose that sense of touch is also absent. What will happen? There will be no chair as such for that person. It doesn't have an existence of its own. Suppose a bird looks at it, it will have a different perception of size, shape, color. A dog will not be able to see like that, because the dog's perceptions are mostly centered on this sense of smell. So therefore, is there something like chair really? It is a contextual existence. You see it, and therefore for you it is. Whether it is there in itself or not, you have absolutely no reason to think. Because what is the proof of it? What is the proof that the things are real? Well, I see it. Means it is dependent on your seeing. If your seeing changes, the things change too. It is, and this we experience all the time. Depending on our state of mind, the things appear. So, if we think of an objective existence, these are non-existent. So, he continues here further. Buddha taught the impermanence of things to lead people gradually to a realization of the emptiness, the lack of inherent existence of things. Many have this doubt, many have expressed this doubt too. You cannot say that the things don't exist. You may say that they are impermanent. Many have this argument that they are impermanent because Buddha has taught impermanence. But Shantideva mentions that the lack of inherent existence of the thing, the emptiness of everything, that to make people see that it was told by Buddha to analyze that it is impermanent. So what were you seeing? That was just an illusion, like the things brought out by a magician, and they are not real. So similarly, this is an illusion because of the impermanence. Things are that you can easily see that they are impermanent. So impermanence is told to see that actually they don't exist, to get to the emptiness. So then the opponent now here says, then it is incorrect to say that things exist even conventionally. This problem, this question gets asked in our Vedanta classes also very often. A big confusion happens here, that so if they really don't exist, if they are empty, then even when I am perceiving it, in my perception also they are not there. So he calls it conventionally, that conventionally also they don't exist. But Shantideva says, no, there is no fault in their conventional existence, because things exist by conventional valid cognizers. So in relation to the cognizer, the cognized exist. What is being denied is an independent existence. So one should not confuse therefore that conventionally they don't exist. If the cognizer is there, then the cognized also is there. They are there in pairs. Like somebody is, say, a father, then there must be somebody whose father he is. It is that you cannot have that it is a person who is childless is father, except the Catholic priest, they get called father. That is a different thing. It is father in a different sense. But otherwise, there is father, means whose father this person is. The words have, I see. Just see the connection between the two. This is a philosophical point, as I was telling, that there is these two, the perceiver and the perceived, stand or fall together. If that is what is called conventionality. It should not, the conventional existence is never rejected by anybody. It is conventional, but it doesn't have any independent existence. And this point, every time this point is raised by people as question because of confusion. If everything is unreal, a very common form of this question that will come here also, then what is the point in all these practices that have been being described? Why should, if the one to whom to show compassion is not real. What is the point in showing compassion to an unreal being? Tell me. It is not, the confusion is that if you feel that there is I, then there is the world too. If this I is real, in accordance with that, that world also is real, things also are real. But remove this perceiver and the perception has no existence. It doesn't have an independent existence, and therefore the doctrine of impermanence is a step to see that it is unreal. In Vedanta, this is a similar expression is used. It is called anitya, means impermanent. That because it is anitya, means impermanent, it is called mithya. Mithya means unreal. It appears, but even if it appears, it is that is no reason that it is real. It is conventionally real. Shankaracharya calls it vyavaharik satya or pratibhasik satya. It is, there is this pratibhasik, means as it appears, okay. That just as you watch things in the movie, you read like say Harry Potter. Now Harry Potter is real or not? Beyond that story, Harry Potter doesn't exist. But that people get so enamored by this story that everything becomes real while the story is being read. It is, I have seen many times that children, about 10, 11 years old children, they are reading the book, their eyes, their whole facial expression moves in such a way that it is all real. And the expert, very skilled author is carrying them along the story. So everybody is real there. In fact, the mind keeps manipulating. That is the art, that what is going to happen next. Not only that, what should happen, what should not happen, who should be removed and who should be kept alive. All that you start thinking about it. That is why there are those monuments get built, that Harry Potter's, where he caught that train to go to what that world, that another yes, Hogwarts, goes there. Now it is all a story, but it all becomes real. There is the place has been made that as if there is a railway station. It is all fictitious, but then it is made because you want it. There is that Arthur Conan Doyle's, that character Sherlock Holmes, a completely fictional character. But yes, he was living on that particular street, Baker Street. Now that doesn't exist. But then people made a Baker Street, a Sherlock Holmes home. So just out of myth we create so many things. This universe is created just like that by us. Out of myth. If the myth maker is there, that myth also is real. We must understand that both fall together or both live together. That is the meaning of being unreal, being a temporary. It is shown temporary because that fact is easy to understand. But the idea is to take you to their complete, total non-existence. What exists is only that state of nirvana. So, let us read a little more. There are many nice questions. We don't have time to read through all. I advise that you should read from the book all these questions and the beautiful answers. One is like this, that tell us whether the bondage exists or not. If the bondage is real, then there is point in going beyond the bondage. If bondage is not real, then who goes beyond the bondage? So it is, and thus this samsara is the very beautiful word, difficult to translate in English. It is, what it means is the world of I and you, the perceiver and the perceived, that kind of existence, and which leads to transmigration. So that is called samsara, a transmigratory existence. In this transmigratory existence, whether Buddha, the enlightened one, is in it or is out of it. What a question, tell us whether that Buddha is free or not free. So, if, as you say, nirvana is not truly existent, but the samsara exists conventionally, nirvana does not exist. In the sense of convention, it doesn't exist. You cannot say it is or it is not. So, because there is no perceiver and perceived there. So, in that sense, you cannot say that it exists. But this transmigratory world exists, at least conventionally. That is how the argument goes. Our Charlie will make that argument easily, that, see, that state of nirvana does not exist. This state of this bondage at least conventionally exists. So, isn't it better to have at least conventional existence than non-existence? This translates into our day-to-day language, that all these enjoyments, although impermanent, it is better to have impermanent enjoyments than not having any enjoyment. So at least impermanent, okay, than not having any. So this is the argument given by common people. It is. So the answer given is very important here. And again, this answer cannot be understood by those who are just academic, intellectual scholars without putting in the practice of virtues. So it says then Buddha must be in samsara because nirvana doesn't exist. Tell us whether Buddha exists or Buddha doesn't exist. If he exists, then and nirvana doesn't exist, then Buddha must be in samsara, in this transmigratory existence. So please, one has to pay attention to grasp these ideas. So what is the point of practicing the Bodhisattva's way of life? Means this name of this book, Bodhicaryāvatāra. What is the point in practicing this? So, and then Shantideva answers, even an illusion does not cease if the continuum of its causes is not cut. This is the free translation or explanation, one should say, of the word used by Buddha, that it is as long as the causes exist, the effects will be there. And so, in the delusion, we perceive a continuation, that there is this cause and effect, and then therefore we see the something similar to what was cause, we think that there will be a similar effect also. So that is why we do farming. We know that this is the seed, say for corn. So, and we sow the seeds to all over the big farms are there, farms of corn. We are very sure that if these seeds are sown, then we will reap a big crop of corn. There is the relationship. It is thus, this relationship is there, and so that continues. It is, and that is the transmigratory world. If one of them is gone, the other also is gone. You cannot say that it then exists or doesn't exist. The whole delusion vanishes. In Vedanta, the terminology is a bit different. We call it existence itself, rather than it doesn't exist. It is the existence itself. The Vedantic terminology is different. It is a kind of positive terminology, which again has the drawback of creating a sense that it exists as other things exist. Like we say God exists, means this chair exists, this person exists, this person exists, corona exists. Like that, God also is an existence of that type. That idea we get because of the positive expression. Negative expression, that it does not exist, it is neither existence nor non-existence. It has this drawback, that tell whether this transmigratory existence is a bit better than absolutely not existing anything. Let me have some transmigratory existence, let me have some transitory impermanent joys of this world. So it is told that no, that state is beyond existence and non-existence. What you call existence is a march towards non-existence. It is thinking that to be real gives rise to all the suffering in this world. So it is so all these mental forms for you appear to be real, illusion-like forms that do not exist. How do forms exist? It is just form, isn't it? Just think of it. It is just a form that you perceive. There is no substance but the forms. This is very similar to Plato's language, that they are just forms. They do not have the essential substance to it. You perceive forms. So, how do forms exist? This is a question asked to the questioner, and the questioner gives some kind of a reply, although, and then immediately commits a contradiction here. How do forms exist? Earlier he has asserted that the forms exist, And so Shantideva asks him the question, tell, how do forms exist? Then this questioner says, although forms do not exist as external objects, they do exist in another way. A form is an aspect, the nature of mind to which it appears. So, it is the nature of the mind, and to that nature of the mind, the form appears. So, its existence is connected to the mind, the perception. You Chitta Tantris, this is the word that is used, that Chitta Matris, that this is the Chitta Matra, means it is the vibration of the mind. It is what we perceive. This is very much used by these Vedanta as well as Buddhist teachings, that it is just a vibration. What I see, that clock, what is it? It is a vibration in the mind. It is and as per the mind vibrates, so it is seen. So you also assert that mind itself appears in the aspect of form. If this is so, how does the mind arise? Now, so let us see what is mind. And this is same kind of logic that you see in Gaudapada's, those verse commentary on Mandukya Upanishad, that this all is mind. Okay, so mind is real? No, mind is nothing but all this. So that is unreal, this is unreal, both kind of certify each other. It is like if where does Teresa live? Just near Jitendra's home, just near Jitendra's house and Teresa's home. Well, where does Jitendra live? Where Teresa lives, just near that. Oh, but where do both of them live? They live near each other. It does not give any information, any usable information for reaching anybody's home. You don't know Jitendra's home, you don't know Teresa's home, and you ask where you live? By the side of this fellow. But where that fellow lives? By the side of this fellow. So, mind and all the forms that are generated by mind, they are of this nature, supporting each other. These like those, a gang of criminals. Now they are gang, so they support each other. They produce alibi to get another friend of theirs declared free, non-criminal. So it is, it is, what do you mean? He could not have committed that murder. He and I were playing poker right in this restaurant that day, in this club. We were playing poker. I was playing with him. So he provides alibi for this fellow. Now when this fellow is charged, then I was with him. So both like that provide witness to each other. Like this, that which is really, that which never existed becomes real because of this mutual certification. They don't tell, doesn't get any information. And there is a joke about, a This itself was a joke, but there was a joke that a phone rang in the that fire brigade office, that, oh, there is fire. Okay, where? My home. But which part exactly? Where? Oh, today in the kitchen. I am asking, how should we be coming to your home? Well, do you not have your fire truck? Now, it doesn't make any sense till that person is not telling the address, which street and which number and which town. So it becomes useless information. So exactly like that, the information that we give about the object is only like that, conventional, uh, juxtaposed against each other, as it were, the perceiver and the perceived. What is mind then? For example, just as the blade of a sword cannot cut itself, so a mind cannot behold itself. And what do you know by mind? Well, that which sees this. Can mind see itself? It becomes an object then. So therefore, there is nothing that can be called mind except all this perception, and that perception is validated by using a phantom called mind. Mind is nothing more than all this. So this is unreal, so that mind, that phantom, that also is unreal. It is nothing real there. It is, there was some years ago, quite a few years ago I think, there was one well known, I don't know the details, but it was such a funny story that it made in the newspapers, that it is this well known football player. He has been suffering so much because his girlfriend is suffering from cancer, and still he managed to play, and then even though the girlfriend died of cancer, still he, as it were, he overcame that grief and still continued to play for his club and so forth. Then it turned out to be a big hoax. There was no girlfriend at all to begin with. So there was no girlfriend, so no cancer to that girlfriend, and no death of that girlfriend. All this story was about non-existent things. So this is how this is that about this non-existent perception. So in that sense, the nirvana is not existing like this kind of existence. So, so there are many such questions. We'll take one or two more. An important thing happens here, an incident, that as this discussion was going on, at the 34th verse, it is said in the anecdote, the life of Shantideva, that while telling this, and this is that, that whole subject drops, object drops. Object drops, subject drops. And while telling this, Shantideva, as it were, disappeared. He rose into the sky and disappeared. And then this verse, as well as all the next verses, the people heard, as it were, from no form. They didn't come from any form. And the whole 10th chapter also was just like that. Mm. It is the anecdote, the meaning of that is that Shantideva uh, went into that state of supreme nirvana, and then uh, all those sounds they came were from the different sources, as it were, that his the a particular individuality is gone, that ego is gone while describing it. We see this happening in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, that he tried to explain what happens today as the Kundalini rises up, and then at a stage he goes into that state of samadhi, and said that, comes down and says that the Divine Mother would not let me talk about it. She held my throat. And what it means is that these things cannot be really told. So, Shantideva says, eventually, when the true existence of things and the true existence of emptiness no longer appear to the mind, since there is no other aspect of true existence, the mind will abide in the resultant pacified state in which all conceptuality has ceased. Means all duality has ceased. So the mind, Gaudapada calls it manaso amani bhave, means that mind becomes now no mind. It is the name continues, but actually the thing does not continue. The thing has disappeared, but the previous name continues. Like the rope is burnt, but then the twinings on that rope still appear, So, is it rope? No, it used to be rope, something like that. So, that is how this chapter concludes here. So, it is the scriptural authority. Then there is the question about, he says, well, we don't accept your scriptural authority. What about that? Then he says, what do you accept? It is, let us see what you accept. That has been shown to be non-existent. So, it is you accept something. So, if you don't accept anything, and that is also fine, then that also proves our point that nirvana alone, that which does not exist, alone is. So, the last chapter is about the prayers for the good of the world. He says all this discussion, now this discussion is an action and it results in some results. Every action will have a corresponding result. So this action also of telling this and giving this instructions, this will have some result. And so what's this, the result should go to? Shantideva dedicates this. This is the dedication of this book, that may, through the virtues I have created by composing this Bodhicaryāvatāra, the Bodhisattva's way of life, may all living beings without exception practice the Bodhisattva's deeds. Let all get this inspiration to practice it. May all be happy, as we say, that may all be happy, may all be virtuous, may all become freed in this world, and so forth. That is how this last chapter is. And here we conclude the discussion, although as I had mentioned, I have not really completed the study of books. It is just an outline, and uh, but I was very uh, happy and feel tremendously benefited by the study of this book and the discussions that we had here. So, my salutations to Shantideva, and I seek blessings of such great souls for the furtherance of my spiritual life. So, I conclude here, except if there are some questions. Are there questions? Any question up there?
Yes, Maharaj. One question here from Shubha.
Okay.
Namaste, Swamiji.
Namaste, Shubha.
If
Shubha,
nothing.
I think. Shubha or Shubha?
Shubha, S-H-U-B-H-A.
Yes.
Yeah. Namaste, Swamiji. If nothing remains, then only one remains. How can there be any experience if only one remains? Even bliss cannot exist as to what or whom bliss will be felt.
Well, you are right. It will not be an existence of this type. All that we experience as existing is a conventional or conceptual existence comprising of the two components which keep on shifting and changing. So, that which is beyond both these, one has to therefore learn to transcend it to get to that which is existence itself. It is called therefore in some Vedanta texts like Nasadiya Suktam, that it is neither existence nor existence. It is beyond both. It is therefore cannot be defined as existence. It is. Therefore analogies are given, but they are after all analogies, that like the ocean exists, but the ocean's existence is not like the existence of the waves. So, the waves are multiple, they interact with each other. Ocean is in all of them and yet independent of them. So, that kind of existence, one can learn to feel it as one practices all these disciplines and see that the truth transcends the forms. Truth transcends the forms. So, let the mind go beyond forms, and then this truth will become apparent to us. That is the answer that I can give, nothing more than that. So, we shall conclude with the prayers. We did not begin with the prayers today, but we shall conclude with the prayers. Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Please repeat. Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. I take refuge in the awakened one. I take refuge in the teachings of the awakened one. I take refuge in the tradition of the awakened ones. Peace, peace, peace.